It being time, I now call the Appointments Committee of the Gardner City Council Wednesday, August 17th meeting to order. I'd like the record to reflect that Chair Tyros, Councilor Mack, and Councilor Walsh are all present. Is anyone recording today's meeting? If not, there is a notice on the wall. First order of business would be the review and approval. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just started. First order of business, review and approval of the meeting minutes from July 12th, 2022.
The only thing I wanted to suggest on that is near the end of the minutes, I don't have the exact page, but there's a comment from the mayor explaining the resignation of Assistant Solicitor Kolodny, and I just want the minutes to reflect that his spelling of Attorney Kolodny is K-O-L-O-D-N-Y, because I think it's misspelled in the minutes.
It's on page 3.
Yes, page 3. Yep.
Other than that, I move the dispense with the reading of the minutes and approve them as presented.
Second.
Motion made by.
Can I just, go ahead.
Motion made by Councilor Walsh, second by Councilor Mack to approve the reading of the minutes. Is there discussion?
Yes, Donna Layton's name is also spelt wrong for resigning from the Conservation Committee in the same paragraph.
Donna
Layton. Yeah.
Okay.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, no. Motion passes. Appointments. 10735, a measure confirming the mayor's appointment of Lauren Walter to the position of sergeant for permanent. Mr. Walter, would you mind? Officer Walter, would you mind take this next to the mayor? Mr. Mayor, would you mind?
Absolutely. Sergeant Walter has worked with the City of Gardner for quite some time. We did talk a little bit about Sergeant Walter during our last meeting. Chief McAveen is here with us as well, who has accepted the position of police chief this morning. He'll be beginning his duties on a temporary basis on Monday to come before this committee later on for a confirmation hearing. If there's any questions with regard to General Police Department, because I know that was another question that got brought up at the last Appointments Committee meeting, is what would the new chief's opinion of an appointment of an officer be right now. But I've been very happy and impressed with Sergeant Walter's work with the city during my 2 years here with the City of Gardner, with his previous employment here, and now that he's been back. As we did talk after, under the current civil service laws here in the Commonwealth, there is a 5-year look back that does allow someone who leaves the department to basically have a first right of refusal for those seats if approved by the Civil Service Administrator. I was looking to get a printout of the approval that we have, but you have to go into the specific Civil Service portal. That's not something that they email to the city, and Director Pond is the only one in City Hall who has access to that. She's out on vacation this week, but I did call her. She did notify me that on June 27th at around 3 p.m. that approval was received by the administrator. And I can certainly, if it's still, if you'd like a screenshot of that, we can send it to you too, but that's in the online portal on Civil Service that my office doesn't have access to just because it's through this specific sign-on sheet there, but they did approve of the appointment as well. And I'm looking forward to working with Sergeant Walter as we move forward. And if there's any questions from the committee, I'm sure any of us will be happy to answer those.
I would just like to thank Mayor Nicholson for accepting me back into the city as my role as a supervisor for the Gardner Police Department. It means a great deal to me to finish my career out here in the city with the men and women that I've served with for the last 10 years.
Thank you very much. Councilor Walsh.
Yes, Sergeant Walter, we had your appointment was on the agenda for our July 12th meeting. Were you aware of that?
I was not. I found out about 5 minutes before it was supposed to take place, and I worked a double that night. That was in June, correct?
July 12th.
July 12th, sorry. Was it?
You had no prior notice?
I had no prior knowledge of that.
We'll be sure to correct that as we move forward. We like to give people normally a week's notice before the meetings, and if there was a miscommunication with someone there, that'll be corrected there too, but we'll make sure that.
Okay. That's the first question I had. Now, Sergeant Walter, you were previously employed by the city for a period of 10 years?
Just
9
shy,
years?
just shy of 10
9
years.
plus.
Yeah, about 6 months shy.
And as I understand it, you submitted your resignation effective July 31st of 2021.
That's correct.
And as I understand it, the reason you submitted your resignation was because of a dispute that you had with the administration of the department that existed at that time.
One of the reasons, yes. So, at the time, I decided to give my resignation from some things that transpired within the department, specifically the deputy chief and the chief at the time.
Yeah.
And I decided with the direction that the department was going, it was a hostile work environment, I would, while I was still young, try to do something else before things got worse.
So it was essentially with the chief and the deputy chief that you
Yes.
had a dispute.
Mhm.
Would that be fair to say?
Mhm.
And that prompted you to look elsewhere for employment?
Yes, that's correct.
And upon your departure from, your resignation from the city police department, did you seek employment in a different capacity?
Yes, I did. I went back to, I have a CDL, Class A CDL, so I went back to driving truck. And actually the day that I left on August 1st from here, I ran into Chief Bennett in Templeton and he took me on part-time so I could keep all of my certifications good.
Okay. So you were working part-time for Templeton?
Templeton, yes.
And that continued?
Yes.
Did you actually, were you on call or did you have a regular shift?
I was scheduled 2 shifts a month
Okay.
and anything extra if I wanted to pick it up.
That's during your time you were a truck driver as well, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And so I'm wondering, what concerns me a little bit is that in the face of difficulty with your superiors, you chose to leave the force. And now you're back and with a different administration looming.
Mm-hmm.
And how would you respond to the criticism that when you're faced with difficulty with your superiors, you quit?
That won't happen again.
How do we know?
Well, we don't know that for sure. Okay, but at the time, I felt targeted by that administration for a very long time in my career here. Actually, since my second year on the job, and I had to go to deputy chief burial with an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I've worked many careers in my time. I haven't always been a cop. I came on late in life at 34, so I've kind of been around the block. And you can tell certain people the way they act, being micromanaged and feeling targeted every day when you come to work, and then you make a complaint about it and nothing happens, and things just start to spiral out of control. So I figured I would remove myself from the situation before it became too toxic.
And you have reason to believe that that kind of situation won't occur in what obviously is a paramilitary type organization.
Yeah, I'm not saying it won't occur again, but I'm positive, I'm putting my best foot forward on a positive note to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
And so how has your perspective changed with respect to responding to your superiors in a way that didn't exist previously?
Well, I'm kind of misunderstanding it.
Well, let me rephrase it.
Rephrase it, please, thank you.
You felt targeted.
Yes,
And as a result of feeling targeted and what you describe as a toxic work situation,
mm-hmm.
you resigned.
Yes.
Others would say you quit,
Yes,
and now you want to get back.
yes.
And what's different, other than the administration? What's different with you?
What's different with me?
Yeah.
It gave me, the 9 months that I was gone, gave me a chance to reflect on police work and you know, how much of a part of my life it was. Prior to accepting the job back here in Gardner, I had accepted a job in Westminster. And then Lieutenant McAveen, who's now the chief, called me the very next day. Well, He called me the next day and asked me if I wanted my job back. And this is after I accepted a job in another town. And I jumped at the chance because I enjoyed working with 99.9% of all of the people at the Gardner Police Station. They're a great group. They are my brothers and sisters till the end. There's nothing I wouldn't do for them.
Thank you. I have nothing else.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Mack?
I just have a question. Since you've been back on the force,
Yes.
how have those you are now supervising, how have they reacted to you being back on the force? Do they hold any, negative thoughts that you left in your back? Have they responded well? That's just my question.
Everyone
How's
is-
the entire, I guess, makeup and the atmosphere now that you're back?
Everyone as a whole has welcomed me back with open arms. Very positive manner. When I was out, I still remained in touch with a lot of people that I worked with because we were a tight-knit family, basically. And we did things in the 9 months that I was out, motorcycle trips, stuff like that. Everyone, it's been a very positive experience.
I'm just going to make a general comment that a lot of people have left, I know, under the same circumstances. And we've lost a lot of good people. And maybe hopefully a lot of good people will decide to come back as well.
That would be great.
I have one other question, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely.
Regarding your recommendation that Sergeant Walter chose to return to his current situation, what prompted that you to offer that opportunity, and what have you observed since then?
I'm familiar with why Sergeant Walter left the department in the first place. I had conversations with him during that time. Quite frankly, and to go back and we talked about the discussion before, I don't, and nor does anybody else that I know see it like Sergeant Walter quit on anybody. He had another trade that he did for the majority of his adult life. And quite frankly, given the circumstances, there were several people looking to leave at that point in time because the work environment was so toxic. It was causing mental health issues for people who work in the building. I nor anybody else that I've spoken to blame Sergeant Walter for what he did. In fact, I'm happy to have him back. I wish he would have come back. I wish he never would have left. He's a valued member of our department. He cares about the city more than anything. The people that work with us, I'm proud to have him back, and I'm proud he's a member of our department.
Thank you.
Sergeant Walter, you mentioned that you'd like to finish your career in Gardner. I think that's a sign of an individual who wants to do that. Can we expect you to look into leadership in the police department, or are you satisfied with the role you play now?
Why don't we just take it one day at a time?
But you'd like to stay?
Maybe down the road I would be looking for a promotion. For right now, I just want to be with the men and women in the trenches, so to speak, and we'll go from there.
But you see Gardner Police Department as your long term?
Yes.
Thank you.
I have nothing else.
Councilman?
Nothing else? I make a recommendation that we move the measure confirming Lauren Walter to the position of Sergeant for permanent.
Second motion.
Motion made by Councilor Mack, second by Councilor Walsh to recommend confirmation. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 10761, a measure confirming the mayor's appointment of Nancy Binder to the position of bandstand committee member for a term expiring July 25th, 2025. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Attorney Binder and the next subsequent appointments are all the next two subsequent appointments are all reappointments to the bandstand committee. This is a volunteer committee that goes around to basically fundraise the money that puts on the concerts. The concerts are come at no cost to the city. It's all fundraised money that pays the bands that's there. So this is the volunteer committee that meets to make the schedule, make sure they have enough bands to fill that schedule, and then make sure that everything is set up and ready for those bands when they perform during the summer in Huntington Park.
Councilor Mack.
I have no questions.
Nor I.
Councilor Walsh.
Move we recommend confirmation of the appointment of Nancy Binder.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Walsh, second by Councilor Mack to recommend confirmation. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Item 10762, a measure confirming the mayor's appointment of Edward D. Pond, I pronounced it right, I apologize, to the position of bandstand committee member for a term expiring July 25th, 2025. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Same exact explanation as the previous appointee. Thank you.
Move confirmation that we recommend confirmation of the appointment.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Walsh, second by Councilor Mack to recommend confirmation of the appointment. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. 10763, a measure confirming the mayor's appointment of Donna Russo to the position of bandstand committee member for a term expiring July 25th, 2025. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Same exact explanation as the previous two, although I will say that Ms. Russo is one of the performers at the bandstand concerts as well, one of the bands. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's wise to have somebody who's in the business, so to speak,
Yeah.
as one of the people responsible for supporting the program.
Exactly. Thank you.
Move we recommend confirmation of the appointment.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Walsh, second by Councilor Mack to recommend confirmation of the mayor's appointment. Is there discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion passes. Item 10764, a measure confirming the mayor's appointment of Ann Hurst to the position of Disability Commission member for term expiring July 25th, 2025. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The Disability Commission by state statute is restricted to members who are either disabled themselves or an immediate family member of someone who is disabled. Ms. Hurst fits in the category of being an immediate family member to an individual who has a disability. This is a commission charged with ensuring that the city is meeting all of our requirements for the Americans with Disabilities Act. We have, I believe it's a committee of 5 individuals, and then on top of that we have our HR director as an ex officio as well per the city ordinances. I believe so, if not by virtue of her position in her job description, to make sure that the city's buildings are all ADA compliant. Ms. Hurst has been on this committee and has served in an officer position in various different roles during the past 10 years. And this is a reappointment that I'm very happy to put forward.
Councilor Walsh.
I have no questions. She's served well during the time that she's been on the commission, as far as I can see.
Councilor Mack.
No, Ann has done extremely well, whether it's been on, as back person leading the special ed parents group in the schools. And I just got to say, I think this commission really is very important as somebody who also has an immediate family member with a disability, that there's such a great need for them to be doing this service.
I also think Ms. Hurst does an incredible job. I'm glad to see this reappointment.
Move we recommend confirmation.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Walsh, second by Councilor Mack to recommend confirmation of the mayor's appointment. Is there discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion passes. New business, Councilor Walsh.
I have nothing more other than if the mayor is in a position to make a preliminary announcement regarding any upcoming appointments.
Thank you very much, Councilor. Mr. Chairman, I was going to ask if that was okay to do as well, so that's okay. So I did notify the council. An email went out immediately before this meeting, so I don't blame anyone for not seeing it. Notifying of the process that we did for the police chief search, when the position was posted, how many applicants were received, where those applicants came from, how many were interviewed, what the process for the interviews was like, what the panel was made up of, all of that is there. Following the search committee's recommendations, 3 individuals were sent to my office, whom were all interviewed, and the top-ranked candidate from the search committee was also my top-ranked candidate as well after those interviews, and Detective Lieutenant Eric McAveen is who I will be appointing to the position of police chief. He has accepted it pending, again, as always, city council vote, which I do fully recognize for the confirmation process and through this committee's hearings as well. I'm very excited to see us move on past this chapter in the city. We'll be posting the deputy chief's position next week for applicants with that one as we move forward from there. So that is something I'm very happy for for the city for on that one, and I do trust that Eric McAveen will be a good fit for the department. I do also feel like it's worth to let the committee know that Greg Dumas, the chair of the Conservation Commission, has submitted his resignation as chair of the commission as well. So that'll be something that we're looking to fill. Our conservation agent, Mrs. Katie Gurton, has also resigned from her position. She's currently working on a temporary basis only on Fridays to fill in until a new agent is hired. She was hired as the conservation agent for the town of Ashburnham, which is her hometown. Basically a lateral move for similar compensation but no Fridays. So it's in the town that she lives and things like that. So that was her main reason for leaving there. So the conservation planning agent position has been posted. In reviewing the city's appointments, aside from Ms. Hurst and Ms. Pond, the remainder of the Disabilities Commission is all expired. The entirety of the Historical Commission is all expired, and there are several other appointments that we've noticed have gone overlooked since the early 2010s period, so the administration will be looking at bringing those back up so we can get our appointments back to where they should be and address them on a timely basis as they should have been in the past. As we move forward, as we've been trying to do over the course of the past 2 years, we'll put an extra effort into that. So there may be a couple more appointments that come before the committee, but we'll be sure to notify you about those as we move forward.
If I may, you indicated that Mr. Dumas has resigned from the Conservation Commission. That has a few vacancies, as I understand.
Yes, there are, including Mr. Dumas's vacancy now, that there are 3 vacancies on the 7-member Conservation Commission.
Okay.
I should also say that we did receive a resignation notice from Mr. Michael Gary of the Zoning Board of Appeals. So I do plan on promoting one of the alternate members of the Zoning Board of Appeals to fill that full membership role next month for the council's consideration as well.
Are there prospects for the I know that there's some activity at the Conservation Commission, and
Yeah.
there always is, and
Yes.
some of them more significant than others.
Yes, we have received some interest in it. I believe we'll get those positions filled on a rather short basis, and we are looking at doing, I am looking, I should say, rather than just the administration, I am looking at filling those potentially on a temporary basis just to get people on the commission as we, there is a lot that's going before it. Not only that commission, the ZBA, same thing with that one, and where the council by charter only meets once in the month of August for a regular business meeting, just doing those temporaries to get things going until the September meetings come up.
Very good. Thank you.
Councilor Mack?
I just, because of everything that has occurred this afternoon, we're not scheduled to meet, I believe, until like September 12th. So I just want to say that I'm open to an early meeting of the Appointments Committee if needed before our next our council meeting to help with the process of the appointments.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, a meeting can be called on 48 hours notice, subject to availability. So if there's a need, then I'm sure the mayor will notify us.
The other thing I want to ask is, where does the assistant city solicitor, attorney Kalani's position, where does that stand?
We're currently seeking applicants for that. We're doing that through the Mass Municipal Lawyers Association as a first step, just to see if we can get anyone who's already trained before we do a full public posting for it.
Thank you. Nothing further.
And on that topic, I'm not sure if it's something you've considered, but at one time and for a long time, I was an ardent supporter of having local people fill those positions. Those circumstances may have changed, and although I've been opposed to changing the way that we engage for legal services, it may be time to look at it a different way, and I'm sure that's something that perhaps you've held under consideration.
We've been looking at every option we have available to this council. You are correct. I should say too, as a follow-up where this is personnel related, following the July meeting of the City Council where the compensation schedule was voted on, the council did recommend looking at a compensation study of all non-union employees in both the city and the school department. The Commonwealth Community Compact Best Practices Grant has since opened, and that is an eligible expense to be applied for by the grant. So we did submit an application to see if we'll be receiving funding for that from the Commonwealth to go forward. We have put out a request for solicitation for different firms to be able to undertake that services for us.
What are the terms of the grant?
Over the course of, it's a full compensation and it's a salary study and a creation of a non-union step scale and a job description review.
What do you know?
Hey. But we're the
Yeah,
average.
you didn't find it in the drawer downstairs?
We didn't, you know, we found one from 2015, but
Okay.
I will say that the average price of these compensation studies, to that extent that we're looking at, is anywhere between $50,000 and $65,000 from what we're seeing.
And that's a full funding
It's a
from the
full
grant
funding
if it's awarded?
if awarded, yes.
That's excellent.
Okay. And you have to submit proposals
Yes.
or bids?
Yep.
Okay, that's great.
Well, thank you.
I want to thank the mayor and clerk's office for helping set today's meeting, and I look forward to the appointments committee has gone through quite a number of appointments and reappointments, and it sounds like we have much more work to go, so I'm looking forward to that. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion to adjourn made by Councilor Walsh, second by Councilor Mack. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no.
Motion.
We're adjourned. Thank you.